Hey there, welcome in to the show. We're going to wait for a couple people to jump in. The CarrGuy and SixFan Show, Season 2, Episode 6. And if you follow me on Twitter, you will know that I made a special announcement about tonight's show. And that announcement was that we will be sans Jason tonight. And the reason for that is because Jason is just coming back from his road trip he took to Pennsylvania in the States. And I think we can all relate to what it's like to come home from a road trip. And so he texted earlier this evening and basically asked if I was okay going on without him. And so that's what we're doing tonight. So I guess you just have the SixFan Show. And so welcome in Craig Durbin. Welcome in S&R Motoring. I'm glad you guys are in. I think Scott's still on vacation, maybe. So it might just be Randall behind the screen name. I don't know. But anyway, that was. I'm glad you're in here because I may be stealing a little topic from you. Master Apprentice, welcome. Is that? Can't tell, but the icon looks sort of like the like Captain Ron's logo. So Andrew Vin, welcome in as well again. So thanks once. Okay, all right, the Master Apprentice. I got that one right. So anyway, what? All right, that's what I was waiting for. Oh, Classic Ride Society. I bet it is toasty down there in Fort Worth. So again, welcome everybody. We've got 5-6 of you in here. Rust Belt Mechanic, welcome as well. Again, in case you missed it from the top, it is just the SixFan Show tonight since Jason is coming back from Pennsylvania. He is back in New Brunswick. However, again, just he's trying to fight off the putting up with Kip, America Bumper to Bumper, for as long as he had to. No, just kidding. Welcome, Kip, to the live stream as well. So anyway, so we're going to try to follow the format very similar to what we normally do. But again, I self-admittedly put very little prep into tonight's show, much like the last couple of weeks. And so in case this is your first time or if you're watching this on the replay, again, my name is Grant Tommy. My channel is Str8sixfan, where I like to focus on budget-minded, relatable, creative builds. A little something I like to call offbeat hot rodding. Kind of the goal is to make the hobby of hot rodding feel more accessible. It's kind of like the, hey, if this Nimrod can do it, so can you. So Doug, welcome in to the show as well. So we always kick it off with a little bit of automotive talk, and the topic I wanted to bite in on was I mentioned it a few minutes ago. Thanks to S&R Motoring and their podcast that they do, and they now share it on their YouTube channel. Whereas I think, and speak up, Randall or Scott, where else you can consume it. I think iTunes and all the typical podcast spots, but I think your best bet is to go into their website, sandrmotoring.com, and you can find out their podcast. But enough of that. The topic they were focusing on in their last episode was basically the topic of Restomods, and are they even worth it was kind of the way they posed the question. And it was interesting. So I gave my 2 cents worth in the comments as recommended. And what I realized was that it's very similar to the topic we had in season 1 when we talked about what does rat rod mean to you. So it seems like it's a bit of a moving target in terms of what does it mean to everybody. And I'm going to go probably a little bit off topic here, but I'll try to bring it back around because I think it's a relevant metaphor. But so my first job out of college, I'm an architect, and I went into historic preservation. Was the first job I was in. So what I learned through that process was, so basically the whole concept of historic preservation for buildings started out circa 1950 50s, 60s, the late 50s, early 60s, which basically was when the mid-century modern movement was proliferating. They were tearing down a lot of turn-of-the-century buildings like 1910, 20s, things like that. And, architecture of the 1910s, 20s tended to have a lot of ornament, so a lot of stones. And so the mid-century modern was all about clean lines, just kind of square box, just like low profile. And so they started tearing down all of those buildings. And so the movement began around that time to help preserve those turn of the century buildings. And so the rules that they set up at the time, so keep in mind, this is like between 1950 and 1960, was that the building had to be at least 50 years old to be eligible. So the topic then all of a sudden became a couple of years ago, well, now you have to start treating the buildings that were the cause for the movement. We now have to start treating them the same way. So anything from the 1950s to 60s is now 50 years old. And so all of a sudden it's like this full circle. So I say all that to say that Restomod, to me, I'm going to pull a book off my bookshelf here. I have this book, How to Build Ford Restomod Street Machine, and it is copyrighted right around, if I can find it really quick, 2005. So that's already almost 15 years ago. We were already proliferating the term Restomod. And so thanks, Miniac, you helping filling in some blanks there about the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966. But the movement definitely started a little bit before that, before probably gained traction. Anything that gets legislation passed is usually about 3-4 years ahead of that. But anyway, so if you thumb through this 2005 book, the idea of a Restomod, and here's a picture on the back, we've got a mod motor for a Ford, so 4.6, 5.4 liter. And then what else? The popular thing to do was like to put a 5-liter fuel injected motor into a like 65 Mustang. And so the topic that Randall threw out, I think it was through a whole different kind of context, a little different context. And so I guess that's what I'm after. So there you go. This was the epitome of Restomod in 2005. Was dropping one of these in like a 60s Mustang. But anyway, I realize, of course, their scene is more of, like 80s Supras. So Restomod probably means something entirely different to them. So to me, I was with this movement right out of the gate. And so my first reaction is always, well, it's definitely a carbureted car that has switched to fuel injection. And you're using whatever, for the time, whatever's the most recent fuel injection example. And so just like the example I gave with now we have to start preserving mid-century modern buildings. Well, to some people, it's putting a new Coyote motor in one of the Mustangs that was the donor for the other 5-liter. And that's just the byproduct of plus 15, 20 years. So anyway, I just thought it was kind of an interesting topic. Go check out their podcast. It's the latest upload on their page. But really, again, I think it's anything that, is upgrading classic iron to today's technology. And to me, it's usually always meant more power plant, drivetrain, and suspension more than anything else. But they brought up some good points. That could also mean a little bit like upgrading amenities in the car, in the interior. And I never really thought about it through that light, but they brought up a good point. And so curious to hear in the chat, and reminder, since I'm flying solo tonight, it is harder to keep up in the chat through normal, but I'm just curious, what is your guys' definition for a Restomod? Oh yeah, brakes as well, Terry Eford says. And Rust Belt Mechanics kind of saying the same thing. There was one other point that Randall made on his podcast that I wanted to bite on because I thought it was really good, but it's kind of slipped my mind right now. Oh yeah. So his premise is he's kind of like he's kind of might be putting words in his mouth, and so please defend yourself if you're still in the chat, Randall. But that what's the point of it? Like, aren't you buying an old car for the character and for the sake of it being old and that that feel? Like, yeah, it doesn't have like power steering like it once did, or it like that's part of the fun of owning. So I can that side of it as well. But yeah, in so Rust Belt Mechanic says he likes integrating more modern electronics in, and I guess that's where it gets tricky. That it goes back to that what a difference 15 years makes, because what is modern 15 years ago is now not, So anyway, that's just kind of cool. Like I'm so, of course, as an EcoBoost owner as well as a Fairmont owner, I'm on this forum called foureyeedpride.com, which is basically for Fox bodies. It's the pre-aero style front clip, so it's more for the Mustangs, with 4 square headlights, but the Fairmont falls into that category as well. So it's a 4-eyed fox. But reading through, and it looks like I'm buffering a little bit. Reading through the Turbo Coupe portion on that forum, there's some people that are very purist about, no, don't you dare swap a new EcoBoost 2.3 liter turbocharged motor into an old Turbo Coupe. And I'm like, no, that's like the perfect candidate for a Restomod, because it's like, not only are you at the exact same displacement and a turbocharged car, it's literally the 21st century version of that car. And so interesting topic for sure, guys. Again, welcome to the CarrGuy and SixFan show. It is just SixFan tonight, since Jason is getting his rest, coming back from his giant road trip, collaborating with other YouTubers such as Hammer Down Motorsports, America Bumper to Bumper, Matt MPG, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some as well. So, that's awesome, Rust Belt. And those are cool cars. Again, I like those things just because they were thinking outside of the box and let's do something different. When Detroit was still trying to figure out, okay, how do we recapture power that we once had, but still meet modern EPA demands and things like that. So, yeah, Kip, I bet it was long. But yeah, Eford, you're kind of hitting on, I think, what Randall's kind of perspective was in that podcast. So again, go check out their channel. So the other thing we always like to do is we always kind of like to throw out a channel growth hack, maybe some lesson we've learned in our YouTube struggle. How can we grow you guys out there? And I'm going to say, to me, I'm kind of excited about this one because it's one I just learned this week, and I think it's really good. And that is, to grow your subscriber base. So first off, leave a comment in the chat what your guys' best secondary social media platform is for supporting your YouTube channels. For me, it's Instagram. When I podcasted for college football, Twitter would have been by far the best second opportunity for me to support my podcasting. But for video, it seems like Instagram's the best, especially for our automotive niche. But the little hack I'll throw out there is like, so take, for instance, when I recently threw out a post about my Turbo V6 shirt that I bought, Buick Turbo V6 shirt, with hashtags, I got exposure to a lot more people that weren't my normal followers. And so when you do that, you've made a connection with some new people that you normally wouldn't have. And so a little tip I picked up this week is like, when you do those things, when you found this new group, don't be afraid to send them a DM like through Instagram and figure out how to keep the conversation going. Like, oh, hey, I saw you liked my post of my Turbo V6. Just didn't know, if you're interested, I've got other, figure out how you can continue that common thread or relate to them, and then invite them to come visit or check out your YouTube channel. And so that's a way that, of course, you're not going to have a 100% success rate. You might only have a 10% success rate, but it's another way to go to find new subscribers and, start that relationship right out of the gate. So in the meantime, since I've been blabbing on here, and I'm surprised I'm carrying this as long as I have for 18 minutes, wanted to welcome to the live stream Mike Swindell, toolbox footage, and the Miniac Johnson T963. Definitely all good channels. They're I can't think of, Mike, what your content's about off the top of my head, but I know I've seen your stuff. JC Smith, welcome to the live stream as well. But if you guys are noticing channels that you don't recognize in the chat, go ahead and at least give them go check them out. Renee LePage, welcome to the live stream as well. And anyway, you might find some new channels that you otherwise wouldn't have known about. So we've got 11 people in here. Thanks for the thumbs up. We've got 5 of them at the moment. And so we go past the YouTube hack and 5-0 Magic. Welcome. Past the YouTube hack, we kind of like try to do some sort of special highlight of the week. Maybe a channel or a build, anything that's just anything we want to make you guys aware of. And this is where the no prep isn't paying off. So I'm just trying to think what's maybe been one of my favorite recents. I'll tell you a channel I think that's up and coming. Definitely bigger than mine already. I think he's at least in the 5,000 subscriber area. But you guys know I'm a pretty hardcore Ford guy. So a shop down in Arizona that's doing some really interesting work right now. They don't just only do Ford stuff. They just do mostly Ford stuff. I mean, they're building some C10s. I've seen they do mostly trucks, but anyway, they do a lot of Coyote swaps into like older F-150s, like 70s, and they're actually currently doing like an OBS, a 92 to 96 style one. It's I kind of lost my train of thought there. Oh, that relates back to that kind of Restomod theory. Is like that was already a fuel injected truck, but if you advance the power plant by 20 years, what kind of vehicle could you have? So anyway, go check out Fat Fender Garage. I just think they do some really cool stuff. And tell me if you ever check it out. If you've watched The Ride That Got Away, Courtney Hansen's new venture that's sort of like overhauling. Is it Troy Ladd, I want to say, is the main automotive guy on that show. The guy at Fat Fender Garage must be like the separated at birth twin of Troy Ladd, because he talks just like him, looks just like him. But I know his name is not Troy Ladd. So anyway, go check out Fat Fender Garage. I really enjoy their content. I think they do a really good job with it. And it's just something else that's just a little bit different. So let's see here. Channel updates. Okay, so this was one, and you may have noticed I was about a minute or two late of 7 o'clock, even though I'm running the show. I was trying to steal some moments out in the garage before the show. I bought some hardware for connecting my shocks to the new style shock mounts on the Fairmont project. But of course, installing just 2 bolts couldn't be that easy. So I didn't get that done, but that's what I was trying to do tonight. I also picked up the special color I'm going to paint the wheels. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I've prepped 2 of the 4 Crown Vic wheels in primer, and I've selected a paint for those wheels. So I guess you'll have to stay tuned either to Instagram or YouTube to figure out what I went with. So kind of excited about that. I don't know that I'm going to get tires mounted on them this weekend or not. We'll see. I'm going to go kind of investigate a little bit. Hearing aid beige. No, Miniac, you got it wrong. But I do love that. That's the color that basically is spot on for the color of the body of my car. I do want to make sure I remember that and throw that out in an episode. But another big channel update for me, again, if you aren't following me on Instagram, and welcome Johnny of Jeep Things Outdoors to the live stream. But special sale going on right now for my merchandise. And so basically my t-shirts, like the one I'm wearing tonight, as well as the 3060s 198T, the Slant 6 inspired t-shirt. I have lowered the price. So on my side of Spreadshirt, I can control the price basically about a $3 range. And so I've lowered the price by over $2. So if you've ever thought about buying one of my t-shirts, they will be for the next 3 weeks. The sale ends on Monday night, September 9th. So go pick yourself up one of my t-shirts. And I did find, because the reason I'm doing this is I bought some new shirts for myself for some giveaways and things like that. So even though I'm still paying myself, it still helps with lowering taxes and things like that. So I figured, why not do a promotion and open it up to all of you guys? So go check that out. Of course, there's a link to my Spreadshirt store about in every video past probably, I don't know, the calendar year of January 1st, 2018 or something like that. So go check that out. And 50 Magic, yeah, I really wanted the Charger wheels to work, but I'm going to be happy with the Crown Vic wheels. I do, just looking at it mocked up from the back with that wider Mark 7 axle that I have, and the Crown Vic wheels being 7.5 wide versus the 7-inch Charger wheels. It's like, it just like from that back view, it's got a good stance in the width direction. Now it kind of has a wide track kind of feel to it, so pretty excited to get tires on that, and I can't wait to get that thing off the jack stands. But I'll be honest, I'm kind of scared. I guess scared's the best word. I'm just not confident in the information I have at the moment with what I need to do to hook up the rear brakes to make that successful, because it seems like the people I ask, I'm not confident in their answers sometimes. And it's not because I don't trust them. It's just they can't explain it to me in like a next level to where I can wrap my head around, okay, well, why? Why do I need to do it this way? Or why do I need to do it that way? And the biggest struggle is the current. So with it being a drum brake car, the diameter of the line that ran to the back of the car is visually, and at that scale, like if the naked eye can just eyeball it and see very quickly, that is smaller than the lines that are on my axle. That just feels weird to me. Now I know the rear brakes only do about 20% of the braking power, somewhere between 30 and 20%. And I know it's all hydraulics, like it's just filling up lines with fluid. Like I don't have any reservations about the lines being able to fill up with fluid. But it just seems weird to me. Why wouldn't I want to upsize? Why wouldn't the main line from the master cylinder all the way back to the rear not want to be bigger? And that's what I can't really wrap my head around. One person told me, he's like, well, why don't you just hook everything up the way it is and just try it out and see what the braking performance is like that. Well, that's also a lot of work that I don't really want to do over twice. But nobody can give me because, like answers range from leave everything alone, it's going to be fine. The rear discs aren't going to necessarily require to push more fluid than the drums used to. No, you need to upgrade everything, master cylinder and back. And so anyway, it's just, I'm not doing anything to the front brakes is the other thing. So like, I know if the front's doing 80% of the work and I'm keeping the front the same, that would tell me like, yeah, I'm sure I'll notice, like maybe I have to push the brake harder to push more fluid. But again, it's only for that remaining 20%. So I don't know. I don't know. There. Yeah. So classic. There are plenty of rear disc swaps, write-ups out there. The problem is like the approach I'm taking is so unique. So a lot of people tell me, well, then if you're using the Mark, you have to pair the master cylinder with the rear brake setup you have. I don't know if I quite understand the context of your comment, Rene Lepage. If you could explain more, that would help out. But some people say like, well, you need the master cylinder that came out of a Mark 7 since you're doing Mark 7 rears. Like you have to everything has to be matched. And I'm like, oh no, that doesn't make sense to me, because it goes back to just simple hydraulics. I'm just literally pushing fluid. So I don't know that I have to have that master cylinder. A lot of Fox body people too, when they do rear brake upgrades, disc swaps, they're usually swapping out SN95. That's the next generation after the Fox body. rear axles, and so oftentimes people will be pulling master cylinders from that. Okay, Jeep things. That's a good. That's a good pointer in the sense that you're saying like there's no way of screwing something up if I go to a 3/16 inch line, and I think that's what's on the back axle. They look. I'll have to get the caliper out to measure that. But anyway, as long as we're talking rear brakes too, if you guys could go look and watch some of other people's other people's videos to compare. But Ride Society, my understanding, a turbo coupe and a Mark Sox box, and I don't remember it specifically, but and it looks like okay, I was buffering a little bit there. If I remember right, they're about an 1/8 of an inch offset. I think mine's a 7/8 inch bore. The turbo coupe in Mark 7, I think, were 1-inch bore master cylinders, and then the SN95s or the 93 Cobras, I think, were 1 1/8 inch bore master cylinders. Could be wrong. That's all going off of memory. But anyway, that's kind of that. Well, I've kind of exhausted my topics. What I wanted to talk about. What kind of questions do you guys have, Eric? I see what you're saying. Yeah, see, that's kind of where my head's at, JC, is basically what you're saying. That all makes sense to me. Like that just all makes sense to me, the way you've said it. But I also, since I'm doing such a unique combination of things, I can't quite tell what. So I think. So here's where I'm at, like, because I don't think replacing a master cylinder would be that hard if I got everything done, as opposed to now is the time to upsize my line if I want to upsize my line. And I'm more worried about that because there is a, okay. Well, and I do have a manual one. I do have an adjustable proportioning valve. I bought a manual proportioning valve so I can help, fine tune the amount of fluid that is going to the rear brakes. But that's all good information. What I understand, there is a fairly economical upgrade to the master cylinder, to a 1-inch master cylinder that I'm really leaning towards. But again, like, I just need somebody to help. And if any of you guys want to continue this conversation, like through email, let me know. I'd be more than happy to kind of like lay out my parts and pieces, if you will. And maybe you guys can help direct me into where I need to go. But yeah, there's a fairly economical, I think, 1-inch bore master cylinder. And the other thing is, like, so the SN95 booster and master cylinder, that's pretty common upgrade. They don't fit without doing some serious strut tower massaging. So I'd kind of like to avoid that if I don't have to. Okay, so JC, my rear end came out of a Lincoln Mark 7. So I guess that's where I'll start. I'll start looking into what the master cylinder was for Mark 7. I believe it's a 1-inch bore master cylinder. But yeah, maybe I can, that's a, indirectly you've helped me out. I need to reach out to just some Mark 7 guys, and they can probably help me. Like, they can answer for me what size was the brake line going to the back of the car, and that would be a starter. And then they can also help me figure out the master cylinder point too. So thanks for that. It was really good. Again, if you guys have any questions for me, feel free to throw them out. If you want to talk about something different, this is season 2. We're trying to go a little bit longer, but I do also have some special news I did want to reveal about this season 2. If you don't have a topic you want to talk about, I'll give you a few seconds because I don't think I'm OCD, but this is bugging me that I have a knot in my headset. So I'm gonna fix that real quick. Hey Johnny, yeah, that's a really cool that's a really cool offer. Remind me what part of Iowa you live in. Are you on the east central? Like if you cut the state in half, are you on the east half of Iowa? Because Iowa's not all that far from where I am in northeast Kansas, but yeah, if you're on the eastern side, it's really hard to justify that. So Eric, I chose a Mark 7 rear end just because of market. There was one available. It had so the things I was looking for in a rear end was 5 lugs, and Mark 7s come with 5 lugs and better gearing. So Fox body Mustangs, it's hard to find. I think until maybe the Cobras, the 93 Cobras started to be 5 lugs. Otherwise, I would have had to gone with the SN95 rear end, and there's some complications going with that. But it was really more about market. There was one for sale, and it also had track lock. It was really hard to pass up. We're looking up. I've got the build sheet under the passenger seat of my car. I could probably cross-reference paint code, and we could be sure. But antique cream sounds right. So yeah, Eric, it did have ABS. Okay, Cedar Rapids. That's what I was thinking, Johnny. I was thinking from when I mailed you my sticker or whatever. But the special announcement for season 2 tonight is, as you guys know, if you've been tuning in the last 2 weeks in this post Google Hangouts world that we live in, Jason and I have really struggled to adapt and get our show where we want it to be. And with that, we've kind of decided to suspend the show for a while after tonight until we can get the show worked, all of our kinks worked out. Because Jason and I care about the product that we deliver, and we just can't keep stumbling like we have the last 2 weeks the way we have. It's just not, I think you guys could all look past it for the for the past 2 weeks. So we want to make sure we can get this ship righted. And we know you guys like the show. We kind of know what we're doing, but we need to make sure that it can be a consistent quality product that we can continue to put out. So for all intents and purposes, we're going to call basically season 2 over after I hit end stream button below my screen tonight, and then we will have season 2.1 hopefully in about mid-September. So anyway, I wanted you guys to hear that from me personally. I know Jason, he that was kind of his idea, and I agree with it. So but we'll kind of leave that there because I do see the topic coming in that somebody wants to talk about, and that's comes from Eric Stenberg. He asks, are you going to leave the engine stock on the Fairmont? So due to the engine. So I guess I'm ratting you out. You haven't watched every episode? No, I don't care. That's fine. There's only like 45 episodes, and some are good and some suck. So, but performance mods, and that's just a product of budget and meeting the $4,000 budget that I've set for the car, because that's kind of what I want. That's what I want my channel to be about. I want to show people how you can hot rod. You have to spend a lot of money in the process, and I felt like for my first project, $4,000 was a nice little threshold that I think is within reach for a year and a half to 2 years to save up money to be able to have that budget. But I think, if you were 17, that's not, if you started mowing lawns when you were 14 or whatever, started saving your money in high school and you wanted to do threshold. And I say that I'm probably going to go over the 4,000, but I think projecting out at this moment, I do think I won't go over 10%. I think I'm going to be somewhere between 5 and 10% over. So I think we'll probably end up with the total price. Scott's Speed Shop, welcome to the live because of the announcement I just. With that, it is 7:39, and one of the objectives of season 2 was to go longer than 30 minutes, but we didn't want to go overboard and make these things drag on. And honestly, especially as a one-man show, Stacy, welcome to the live stream. Just about ready to shut it down, sorry. But as a one-man show, it's really hard to go on much longer than this. So I just wanted to say thanks everybody for joining in, being able to listen and to check in with me. I appreciate all of the fans. But that's gonna do it for this live stream. It's gonna do it for the end of season 2. Yeah, and if you don't know what I mean by that, I guess you're gonna have to go back and rewatch this thing. But we hope to be back up and running by mid-September. But that'll do it for this live stream, guys. So until season 2.1, peace out.